everyone, welcome back. With global factors weighing in on recovery, how can businesses build valuable brands in VUCA 2.0 world? Well, that's what we are discussing here on this panel with a couple of CXOs. Tim, there is this age-old term, brand valuation and brand value creation. So how has brand valuation versus brand value creation shifted during these times?
I think one of the things that we've seen is the importance of brand value as measured by equity. So, what the brand stands for in the minds of consumers has become more and more important because there's more choice within categories, and also consumers, as we've talked about, are under stress from different elements that are happening within the macro environment. They want shortcuts in order to make sure that they're making the right choice. Yeah. And also in the environment of, inflation and, pandemic, they want to make sure that they're making the right choices on behalf of their families, and also that they're getting, quality. And it's, if you like, peace of mind within a world that's changing around them, and also what they're faced with, ongoing, challenges. So brand has never been, more important, and we see that in the Brandzy ranking, that the importance of brand continues to play out. And those that have won through the pandemic and also coming out of it are the ones that really put the consumer first and the brand right at the centre of their organisation.
Great. Rana, we are meeting on the sidelines of Brandzy's 75 most valuable Indian brands report release, and I'm tempted to ask you, how has the term brand value or the phrase brand value evolved over the past few years, and where does it stand now? How has the definition changed?
I think what has changed is, in India specifically, we've seen the importance of brand purpose. So the Indian consumer is saying, beyond making profit, what is the bigger societal benefit or even a bigger personal benefit do you stand for? So that brand purpose has become very important. Again, in an uncertain world, people want to be inspired by brands with a purpose. And then finally, sustainability. So despite being an not a rich world market, Indians are very concerned about, for example, climate change and its impact on them. So they want brands to be stepping up and building a more sustainable world for the future. And brands which take a lead in that, again, we see they're more predisposed to getting purchased and hence building a stronger brand value.
Yeah. One of the crucial things, is when things get tough, finances are tight. So how do you go about that? How do you, do you stay invested, or do you, hold back your advertising and marketing?
I think
to create brand value. How do you?
You are heard the loudest when the room is quiet. I think that's when you build the strongest brands.
Is that what you did?
I think what we've ended up doing is we've ended up going back and reinforcing what the products are doing in terms of reinventing, whether it is wash performance, whether it is driving nutrition in the homes. I think it's important to re-look at yourself in the mirror and see the world around you and look at what it takes to reinvent. So I think we've gone back to investing into our manufacturing lines and our products, and make sure that the core product actually holds a customer experience that really rises above everybody else out there. And I think that's really where the story starts. You build products that you can actually make a difference, and especially in the durables industry, which is such a high-touch product. So I think that's what we've done. We've gone ahead and we've reinvested in a large part of our portfolio, reinforced and reinvented what washing machines can do for you, what refrigerators can do for you. And I think that's what you do. You go back to the core and you rebuild from scratch.
Okay, what about you, Sukleen? Your thoughts on this?
I think if you actually see empirical evidence, brands that have stayed invested in downturns are the ones that actually came out stronger when the curve shifted. So clearly there's enough and more empirical evidence that supports brands to stay invested. I think what does change from a strategic lens is that you go back to building your core. The very reason why you're bought for the first time, or why consumers reward you with loyalty. So I think in that context, even if we see our business, we've absolutely stayed invested on the core brands, on the core promise. Despite the shift that happened, we continued to invest behind building the core propositions why people would buy you in the first place. So I think I'm a huge believer of being consistently invested despite the fact there's a downturn, because it will reward you when the curve will shift.
Okay, moving on, final thoughts on building valuable brands, in the times that lie ahead of the pandemic. Let's begin with you, Sujit, again.
I'll just link it to a question you asked some time back, opportunities and challenges, and I think that will be relevant to this question. So, the situation is such that opportunities and challenges are part of the continuum. The reason I'm saying it is because in a category like banking, thanks to technology, there are new offerings coming in every quarter, right? There are fintech brands coming in, there are offerings coming in from abroad, so there are offerings dime a dozen. What is the way to do it is that, I'll just give you an example. Something called an account aggregator has got launched, which you must have heard of, where people can apply for loans to an organization where you don't have your account, but the organization, the bank wants to know what is your salary, how much money you have in your bank. You don't need to put in your bank statement. Through an account aggregator, the organization giving the loan can access it from the bank where you have your savings account, right? So this is just an example of technology coming in. Now this means that organizations can now start giving loans even if they do not know the account profile of the person who's seeking the loan. Now organizations that can cater to this technology seamlessly will be winners. This is a very small example that I'm giving, that if the situation will keep changing every quarter, every year, organizations that are fleet-footed and are able to understand which way consumers are moving will be the ones that will disproportionately gain in the years to come.
And finally, what would VUCA 2.0 really mean for an OTT player like Disney Plus Hotstar?
For example, if you look at VUCA and this pandemic specifically, when mobility got taken out of the picture, we started looking at what do consumers care about today, right? So it became about the fact that I cannot go out and have this experience, but I want to understand about all the experiences that are there. In a way, it's a bit of a third-person view of traveling or looking at some fantastical show or something like that, where it's almost a voyeuristic look at it, where I'm not a part of it, but I can imagine myself being there. So we started focusing on entertainment like that, which would talk to that particular audience and that cohort. So those are some of the ways in which we kind of as a brand evolved and gave focus to, in terms of fantasy, for example, became big at that time, and superheroes like Marvel, etc. We started pushing it out in different languages because suddenly there was a lot of uptake for looking at fantastical journeys. Because currently I'm cooped up here, so fantastical journey is my way of a release. And that's how we evolved. And we started dubbing everything and we started putting it out in multiple languages. And there's been massive spike, for OTT on that. Not only that, we started, one mistake you make is you do all of that, but you market in English, right? So we changed all our marketing even for Marvel titles, which were very English forward a couple of years ago. We now market in the local languages, each of those Marvel titles, right? So in that sense, we also evolved as a brand and understood that maybe this is what the consumer needs at this point. That was their identity at that point. And again, it may evolve to somewhat different once the pandemic is over, right? So to understand that behavior and respond to it, I think this is one of the examples about what we did in the pandemic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for watching CNBC-TV18 and Kantar C-Suite panel, Building Valuable Brands in VUCA 2.0 World. Goodbye.